Hello Wargamers, it's me Callum from TableTopBanter, and today we have another video for you. This one is of course a 40k Tactica video, as you can tell by the title, looking at what to do if you're outmatched. So I'm straying away from the core mechanics side of things, because I've dabbled a bit in that, and I've realised that actually that's not the place where I find tactics interesting. I find it interesting in the more psychological and that kind of side of it. The playing around the mechanics, not the actual mechanics themselves. So today we're going to look at what to do if you're outmatched. So this happens to me quite regularly, not playing strong lists. Now I'm not saying I win every game with these methods that I'm going to talk about. I don't win a huge number of matches, it has to be said, but I can still appreciate tactics. It's just a lot of the time I go into matches without the screaming incredible meta list, often just for a bit of a laugh. And I like to play slightly fluffier lists anyway, so I do find myself outmatched a lot. So what to do when this arises is, there's a few options really. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the first thing you can do if you're outmatched. Play for the objectives. Now this sounds obvious, you're going to do that anyway, it's a war game, you play for objectives. But really focus all of your energy on playing for the objective. Now yes, that does mean you're going to have to kill some of his units, I'm sure. But if it comes down to it, and you have a run roll for an objective card, or you could shoot your opponent, just run. Use the run roll, get onto that objective. I found myself doing that lots lately. I had a game a little while ago against some Dark Eldar, and it was a Raider spam list, and it was really, really strong. It had 2 flyers, it had everything in Raiders and a couple of Ravagers. And this was against just a standard 1850 point list I wrote up that morning, scraping the points together, and it was rubbish. I mean, my list was rubbish in comparison to this proper tournament written list. So I was outmatched list wise. This guy's got more playing experience than me, so I sat down and I focused really, really hard on getting the objectives. Now I actually managed to pull out a draw. It was 17 apiece by the end of the game, which I was shocked by, because I had like 3 models left on the table. That's the only thing with this, you've got to be careful about getting tabled. But I had 3 models left, they were hidden out of sight. He wouldn't have been able to get there, even with the Raiders and that. He wouldn't have been able to do the damage he needed to. And that ended up drawing the game with Linebreaker as well. So at the end of the day, if you're outmatched, go for the objectives. That's my first tip, or the first battle plan, because playing objectives, it's how the game is won or lost. Whether people like to admit that or not, and whether, you can come in with an all-powerful list and try and table your opponent, but if he has 1 model left and more objective points than you, you lose. So it's all about finding that balance, but I do find that playing for the objectives if you're outmatched is a great way to start. The next thing you can do is be aggressive and try and take the pace of the game. They often talk about that in sports, like things like football and stuff. If a smaller, slightly less experienced club can dictate the pace of the game, they have a stronger chance. So what I would recommend doing is put your best foot forward and just go for it. Now this happened, I played Harry, and I played a Militarum Tempestus list. This is on Vassal, it's actually going to go up, so I won't ruin the result. And he played a really strong Space Marine list, and I've got to say, I felt outmatched. I looked at what he had and I was like, well, I don't have this. I have no combat for, Terminators, because my weapons are just AP3 and there's a lot of cover on the board, so is AP3 that even that strong anyway? So I was doing all these things in my head, coming up with what I was going to do, and in the end I just decided to move forward and just shoot everything. And that tactic paid off, in the sense that in the first turn I had a very strong first turn. I really used the formation rules to my advantage, and I really used the list I'd written to my advantage, even if I was slightly outmatched in my opinion. And Harry and I talked about it, and he was like, well, he was saying to me, I can get so much in this list. And I was like, I know, and I'm stuck on, I've got 4 units. And he was just like, yeah, I know, this could be a bit easy. And so I managed to win the first turn roll off, and I played aggressive, and it did help a lot in that game. So yeah, so if you can't win on objectives, if it's a kill point game or something like that, be aggressive. Know the capabilities of your units. That's important as well, because I know that if I'm going to fire off 5 tactical marines with 5 bolt gun shots into a unit that has a save, I might kill 1 or 2 if I'm lucky. So don't be like, oh yeah, it's fine, I'll take out all those Terminators with these 5 tactical marines. You've got to know what each unit can do and be aggressive with that. I think that's the important part I'm trying to put out with this. So if those two things are struggling in the game, if you're struggling to win objectives, if being aggressive hasn't quite paid off, there are two more things you can do. You can put 100% of your effort in going for a draw. So forget winning and be as, nasty as you can be as an opponent to get a draw. I don't mean like say nasty things to your opponent. I mean, hide this guy behind some terrain that your friend can't see. I mean, contest an objective with a unit that's just one man strong but they can't see. Things like that. Look for the nooks and crannies in the game you're playing and try and go for that draw. Because it's not a loss at the end of the day, and a draw is not a bad thing. But obviously people want to win. But if you are outmatched, and that is showing on the table. Being aggressive hasn't worked. Playing for objectives isn't working. Then try and go for the draw. I know that sounds really bad, and I shouldn't be encouraging it. I should be like, no, it's all or nothing. But at the end of the day, something is better than nothing. And if you think that you can't win it, and you look like you're struggling, go for that draw. And the final piece of advice, and this is the one I take more often than not, change the objective of the game for yourself. So if your opponent is completely dominating you and you've not got a lot left, look at what you've got left and see how can I most enjoy the game with what these models on the table. Do I just charge them head on into their strongest unit, or do I go, okay, my mission is to keep this unit alive and take out as many of my opponent's like smaller units as possible? Or is it to, I'm going to go kill their warlord. Even if it means I lose all my models, that's my mission. I'm going to try and kill their warlord. So, although you'll still lose the game, see if you can make the scenario more interesting for you. Because I am a firm believer that you should never stop playing a game until either one of you has been tabled or the game runs out of turns. Because at the end of the day, you're playing an opponent and they're going to have fun if they're winning, and you're going to have fun if you're winning, and you want to be able to make the most of these two things. But if you are losing and your opponent is winning, don't call the game off. Don't say, well, I give up. Because, you're taking away from their fun. So instead, I would recommend changing your objective of the game. Even if it's not get tabled, that can be fun. So try and do those things next time you come to a game and you're incredibly outmatched. So just to recap, the 4 tactics I would recommend are: step 1, try and play for the mission. Or 1 and 2 kind of, they're simultaneous. Play for the mission. Get the objective points. Kind of shrug off the fact that you are going to lose units and just go for those points and keep something alive at the end. And step 2 is kind of the opposite way of playing the same thing, which is being aggressive. You can be aggressive and go for objectives. If it means flatting out a unit into their deployment zone to take an objective, that's being aggressive in my opinion. So yeah, be aggressive, put your best foot forward, and just try and dictate the pace of the game. Step 3, if all else fails, if these things are going wrong and you're in this game and you realise you're on the back foot, play for the draw. There is no shame in drawing against a much stronger opponent. I actually feel like it's almost a win if I'm outmatched and I get a draw. So, okay, it's not quite a win, but I do take it as something in between draw and a win if I'm outmatched. And then finally, if there's no chance you get in the draw, if your back is against the wall and you've got like 3 turns left in the game, be heroic. Do something fun and interesting that you might, if the 1 in 100 chance you pull it off, it makes the game so cool. Like you just slay their warlord with a regular assault marine, his final wound is gone, and yes, you get warlord kill, great, you've got a point, but let's face it, you're gonna die. But there's nothing more heroic than that kind of last stand scenario or something like that. So just go for it, just have fun with it, basically. Have fun whilst losing. That's my piece of advice to you, because at the end of the day, you will win some, you will lose some. So it's about making the most of the losses and enjoying the wins. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment below as ever. Let me know what you think. Do you have any tactics for this kind of stuff when you are outmatched? Obviously, this will happen to fluffy players more than it will happen to competitive players, but that is the way it is, unfortunately. You're not going to find someone who plays a completely balanced list against yours every single time. Of course, there are 2 links in my description below. First link to go and check out is the blog. Harry's been working hard, putting plenty of stuff up for you, so go give it a read and let him know what you think of his projects. It'd be great to see that really take off. And the second link below is a link to the Legion of Gamza Facebook page, so go and click on that and find out more about the Legion of Gamza, a small community-based war game sort of, I don't know what you'd call it really, I guess it is just a community, a war game community of us YouTubers. I think there's 30 odd of us, putting out content for you guys but helping each other on the way. So go and click on that link to have a little look at the Legion and the Legion members and their videos. So thank you very much for watching. It's been me, Callum, from TabletopBanter. Don't forget, have fun.